good. And today on Bank to the Future Live, we are going to be discussing our experience with three very high-profile deals that we've been executing recently. One is the Coinbase IPO. The other is one of our deals that went live just to our premium members and our existing investors. And another one is the Exodus security token, and how they all fit together. So we're just checking in, making sure that everybody can hear okay. So if you can hear us okay and you are on the live chat, just let us know. For some reason, there seems to be a lot of spam in foreign languages in the live chat today. But if you are a real person and not a bot, then please let us know where you are listening in from. Also, as always, we've got the new Slido link. So we've been gathering your questions. We send out emails before we go live, and we give you a Slido link, which you should be able to see on your screen right now with me in the corner. These are your top questions. Please scan that QR code if you are watching right now on your phone, or grab the link, which will be shared in the description and the live chat. Or just simply head over to sli.do, and in the box with a hashtag, just put SD3, because this is the third time we've been using Slido in this format for BF Live. Once you're there, you can ask your questions, or you can upvote other people's questions if you don't have any questions you'd like, but you'd like to see other people's questions. And we will go through those and try and answer as many questions as we can in the second half of this show. So we are going to jump right in, and Azad will be moderating as usual. He'll be picking out the questions in the second half of the show. And in the first half, he'll be pulling up some screenshots as I go through, so that you can see what I'm talking about. So first thing, the Coinbase IPO was a very historical event for us at Bank to the Future. It was our first company that started as a small private company and ended up becoming a multi-billion-dollar IPO. So we were very, very excited about the process, and still are very excited about the process and the returns for our investors, until we started going through the process of understanding how archaic the traditional financial system actually is even today in terms of transferring shares. So I'm going to walk you through a bit of the process. And at the same time, we saw a fully digital security token offering for one of our portfolio companies that was powered by another one of our portfolio companies that we raised funding for in a private round to existing investors. And then we'll tie all this together to help you see and understand our experience of why digital assets are actually really, really important. Many people believe that security tokens are just inefficient ways of running databases, and that you don't need a blockchain. So until you actually try and transfer shares from one broker to another via entities in the middle, that you realize the myriad of middle people all getting their cut, all trying to slow things down because they all have their compliance processes that they need to adhere to, and the extreme inefficiency that many of these anti-money laundering processes have driven our financial system into, that thankfully, due to our industry, is building the infrastructure in order to really try and make this more efficient, despite the fact that regulations are trying to make it really, really difficult, because it's no longer about investor protections. It's all about data collection. But in the other side, so when we got the news that that Coinbase was going public, we immediately set about opening as many brokerage accounts so that we could receive the Coinbase public shares as fast as possible, so that we could try and deliver them to day one of the IPO for our Coinbase investors. Now, we knew that it probably wasn't going to be possible, but we didn't realize the inefficiency in the traditional financial system. So the first thing is, we are very used to know your customer. You think that some of the processes are hard, signing up to accounts at Bank to the Future, or brokerage accounts, or sorry, exchanges. Well, try getting a entity like ours through a brokerage account. It took months and months and months of paperwork, certifications, notarizations, snail mail, printing, scanning, providing every single type of document that is possible, because that is the world that we live in now, that you cannot move money, you cannot do anything until you have provided all these documentations that are a requirement for us to collect as well, just because that's how the system works now. So we worked as hard as we could to get through all of these know your customer processes. We are, as an entity that's already registered with a regulator, we're very, very used to it. We got every kind of documentation possible in order to speed up that process and make it as fast as possible. So we did that with as many brokers as possible. And one by one, they realized that they may not be able to deliver upon this process of receiving shares in a company that's about to go public. So then we go through this very few that actually want to work with a crypto IPO, even though they have been through all of the regulations, all of the sign-off process, and everything one needs to do in order to become a public company. But they hear the word crypto, and suddenly the compliance team like red flag, red flag, red flag, and everything suddenly becomes more difficult, which translates into more expensive, more paperwork, and let's just not bother for many people. So we filter it down to the brokers that could actually execute this transaction, and then fewer of them are able to work or want to work with a platform that is involved in raising finance through one of the oldest mechanisms for raising finance, securities and equity. But suddenly, because it's connected to blockchain, Bitcoin and crypto companies, red flag, red flag, red flag, even though everything has got paperwork, documentation trails, due diligence, everything is lined up. So there are fewer and fewer and fewer, and we filter it down. Then we find the brokers that can actually do this. Then they have to communicate with Coinbase brokers, and then the custodians brokers, and all the myriad of middle people in between that all want their documentations in order to get to the next stage. And one needs one document that they can't provide and one number that they can't provide until they get the next document. And so we're working through all this bureaucracy in order to just try and get to the stage where we can receive the shares in order to swap the private shares into public shares. So next we go through that process. None of the brokers that we signed up for an accounts with was able to confirm if they could work with the Coinbase IPO until the IPO has actually happened. So now we realize that we've been through the process, mission 1, trying to get an account open. Now we need to get through the process, mission 2, trying to receive the shares. And then down the chain goes, the paperwork goes for all this myriad of people that are all collecting paperwork in order to satisfy their regulators, just to be able to be in a position to decide whether they can even give us a number. So if they can give us a number, then we might be able to actually receive the shares in order to get the IPO. So all of them, just going through the notes of the next stage, said that they could not receive the shares and they had to wait for the IPO to actually happen. So then we get to the next stage. We filter down the brokers. Now they're all waiting for the IPO to happen. Now that all of them, one by one, then say, well, it's not possible. Then we realize that we actually funded a company, First Digital Trust, on our platform. We contacted First Digital Trust, and they, just due to the nature of the fact that they are one of our portfolio companies, found a way to open the account, receive the shares, and everything has gone through, but they are still waiting for the 1,000 middle people to confirm that they have everything so that the shares can actually be received in the custody account. Thank God for companies like First Digital Trust that are actually trying to provide a bridge between the traditional financial sector and the digital asset sector. So mission 1 is accomplished, an account is open. We have a custodian that's able to receive those shares. Now we need to mission 2, which is receive the shares. all of the paperwork is provided, everything is done. And now we are just waiting for all these middle people to allow the shares to actually be received until we can move to mission 3, which is getting First Digital Trust to give all the paperwork to all their brokers, so that all those brokers and there's brokers of their brokers and their transfer agents of their transfer agents, which sends into the centralized clearinghouse of the shares, can then say computer says yes in order to receive those transactions. And in the meantime, all of our customers are used to the simplicity of just opening up a QR code, having one blockchain address, and being able to send that to that. I cannot wait until our financial sector, our financial industry allows us to just pull up a QR code, have services like BlockPass, which are doing on-chain identity verification. So you can say, share my data with my privacy connections, and then we send it all via the blockchain. That updates one database from another, and we don't have to have this scenario. Not there yet, but thanks to our investors funding companies like Securitize, like BlockPass, like the other companies that are really innovating in this industry, we're eventually going to get there. And the traditional financial system will have to adjust, and can't wait for the disruption, just so that we can make this process work as it should be. So the myriad of KYC, the myriad of documents and all the stuff is complete. We're just waiting for it to work its way through the traditional financial system so that we can then deliver those Coinbase shares. And in the end, you have your public shares. We're able to deliver those to your brokerage account. Now, wouldn't it have been nice if Coinbase actually just used the industry that they're advocating for, the security token industry? Now, what's really interesting is we actually built up a broker in starting from 2016 that Coinbase actually acquired from us in order to support the growth of the security token ecosystem, ATSs, and all that. So we built it for them, handed it on a plate, but we still have to go through this process because the traditional financial system and the IPO process all works this way. So can't wait for mission 3 to be accomplished, which is where we just start clearing these things by sharing our wallet addresses, as we are all used to and know how to do in the Bitcoin and crypto ecosystem. So every different broker required different things and all the middle people. And now we get to the stage where all of our customers, most of our customers, they can either leave them at the custodian, First Digital Trust, or they can receive them in their broker if they want to easily trade those shares. And each and every single broker is asking for different details in order to allow the customers just to receive those shares. So sorry for the painful process of the traditional financial system, but that's why you are investing through Bank to the Future, so that we can fund the next generation of companies that can make this process cheaper, faster, more efficient, and better eventually, despite all of the efforts of the traditional financial system and regulations in order to make it as hard as possible to get in the way of as many transactions as possible. So I just want to give a shout out to and congratulations to everybody that invested in First Digital Trust. They have built the infrastructure that made this transaction happen. And when we do this all over again, for the whether it be the Ripple Labs IPO, or whether it be the Robinhood IPO, or whether it be the Can IPO, or whether it be for any of other portfolio companies that have decided to go through this horrific process of going public, we are able to do that at a much better pace, and have the traditional financial system get everything they need in order to execute on this transaction. And also, of course, First Digital Trust are our partners in launching our portfolio builder service for Retirement Plan B, which is coming just in time, as we warned all along, for the tax crackdown and all the crackdowns that we've been talking about, so that you can legally accumulate Bitcoin, lend Bitcoin, and build your security portfolio in a very efficient manner that significantly simplifies the tax treatment for everybody so that they can relax and can't wait to bring that service that is happening in partnership with First Digital Trust to bring the retirement plan B portfolio builder to everybody to just simplify this process. Congratulations to everybody in Coinbase. We are working, our support team will be working with you to get you those details. You should have received an email today with much of the details that you need in order to get through that process and get your public shares. So sorry about that rant, but at the same time, on Bank to the Future, we were given an exclusive allocation to a very exclusive round, which is the Securitize round, because our existing investors were given entitlement to those shares, and it sold out within the first day, and we had a little bit that was available just for our priority access deal members, but it was mainly for existing investors. That's all sold out, and we had to scale back many of the investors to make sure they only got part of their allocations. So we look forward to seeing the announcement from Securitize make sure that you keep everything confidential that was shared because they're looking to do their announcements as the round gets to the next stage. So that's that round. At the same time, we also, sold out in 2 days. And we are really excited about seeing the new products that Securitize is looking to bring to market in order to drive adoption in the digital security space so that we can just make this process much more efficient. And we look forward to partnering with Securitize in supporting them in growing theirs. And congratulations to all Securitize investors that now have their next pricing event for investing in some of the earlier rounds on Bank to the Future. And to tie this all together, one of our very, very early deals, which is Exodus, they decided to cut out the IPO process. They decided to go through a Regulation A+ offering to US investors, and they decided to issue those securities through their wallets through a deep integration with Securitize's technology. So thanks to that, our investors that invested in the very, very early funding round, the first funding round for Exodus through our platform, I think it was back in 2016 or 2017, I can't quite remember. You can see the history actually, Azad, if you scroll further down, when you're on the company page, if you ever want to find out details of the company, you can see further up their funding round. And that will link through to the funding round there. If you click on that link for the funding round, it will take you to their early pitch on Bank to the Future where they did that funding round. So Azad, you can click on that funding round and it will take you to the pitch. You just need to click on the funding round where it lists the funding rounds. You've gone above the funding round, there's a chart, and then it lists the funding rounds there. And you can click and that will link you through to the old pitch. In fact, it's so old that their video has been taken down, and you can see we don't change things here. You can see the archives of those pitches. Now, congratulations to all Exodus investors. Next week, we will be in a position to pay out your Bitcoin returns as a result of some of you kept some of those shares and sold some of those shares, and the returns were paid out in Bitcoin. They gave a bit of an allocation to do a secondary trade while they were doing their Reg A+ offering. We will be sharing all the details and all the numbers, but that approximately, they use Securitize in order to do this. I love it when we see them together. We funded Exodus in the early days. They've now got hundreds of thousands, millions of wallets open, really supporting the growth of the ecosystem, one of the nicest wallets out there, deeply integrated with Trezor, and some of our other portfolio companies like Shapeshift, that were one of their earlier investors as well. They use Securitize in order to get to the next valuation and pricing event. The notes and all the have been converted. They use Securitize, and now Securitize, one of our other portfolio companies, is powering the growth of the ecosystem. This is what I'm talking about. Bank to the Future, funding the future of finance. We're trying to cut down the bureaucracy of the traditional financial system and gradually onboard everybody into the crypto and future of finance ecosystem, even though we have to deal with some of these draconian, archaic, traditional financial system processes. But that's the nature of offboarding from one system to the other. Speaking of which, remember, we made the announcement at the last BF Live on the Binance partnership. So remember, if you ever receive returns, if you ever receive your Bitcoin, if you ever receive your exit proceeds, if you ever want to buy some crypto, then you can simply take your dirty fiat money, put it into Bank to the Future in the funds section of your account. It will auto convert it into dollars, which will then be auto converted to a stable coin. From there, you can easily buy Bitcoin, ETH, and the volume has gone insane for people converting their returns, their exit proceeds, using the bank, all deeply integrated into the Bank to the Future ecosystem through that partnership and brokerage system and agreement that we signed with Binance. So really, really great to see the growth of that and people and our investors just making use of that and being able to keep their returns in the platform. And congratulations to Exodus investors. We'll get the numbers out there, but I think the numbers that I've seen, don't count me on this one, but I'll make sure that our team, our investor relations and corporate access team, are sending out the details. Approximately 150x on that deal. So that is everything we've got for you. We've obviously got more deals. We sent out the email. But we have been so busy that every time the need to become a Bank to the Future premium member has never been greater because most of the deals are selling out without ever getting listed on our platform, just to the premium members. So make sure that you've got your 10,000 Bank to the Future tokens if you want to get 48 hours priority access to deals, because it's reaching the stage now where it only happens if you are in that premium membership. And remember, if you have 100,000 Bank to the Future tokens, we know the price is up over 1,000% on the year. Then you also get those rewards every time you make an investment, so that you get a piece of the growth of the ecosystem. As our platform grows, you get more Bank to the Future tokens if you own and stake 100,000 of them and put them on your BnkToTheFuture.com. We're not using the BF wallet much anymore. So make sure you deposit them on the fund section of your account, as we are really saving the BF wallet for future iterations as the security token ecosystem grows. But you can always hold your Bank to the Future tokens on the Exodus wallet. It's deeply integrated into Exodus already. And we are very excited about that. So make sure that if you want to get priority access to these deals, you head over to the fund section. You can buy up to 10,000 Bank to the Future tokens through the platform just by hitting manage on the fund section. But if you're buying more, you need to head over to exchanges and buy those off somebody else that doesn't want them anymore on those crypto exchanges. It's why we really want to insist that they remain utility tokens by making sure that they have full utility, rather than actually doing buy and burn things that people would love to see but might turn them into securities. We'd look to see a much more buoyant security token exchange ecosystem before we consider anything like that. But the utility for Bank to the Future tokens is increasing every month. And now it's becoming essential because most deals are not even making it to the listed side of the platform. Also, a final reminder, if you missed any deals, there's always our secondary market. On our secondary market, if you have Bank to the Future tokens and you pay your trading fees with Bank to the Future tokens, then you get a 50% discount off all of those trading fees. And the volume is continually increasing. And we're starting to see the fruit of the secondary market, and almost all people are paying with Bank to the Future tokens, driving more and more people to want to purchase those from exchanges. So that's all the updates that I wanted to provide to you, and really just excited about the portfolio companies making these changes. Change doesn't happen overnight, but we look forward to seeing more and more changes there. So now let's take it to the second half. And in the second half, this is where we take your questions. So if you didn't catch the beginning, remember to head over to the Slido board that you can see in front of you. You can scan the QR code. You can head over to sli.do. And when you head over to sli.do, just enter in the hashtag box was it Azad? BF3?
Yeah, BF3.
BF3. I think I said SD3. Confusing myself now. BF3. And we're going to go through those questions, and there should be a link in the live chat or the description as well if you're lost. So Azad, let's jump straight into the questions for the second half of the 85th episode of Bank to the Future Live. Just before we start, please do hit a like button. We want to get this to the point where more people are watching Bank to the Future Live than the Simon Dixon YouTube channel. So if you're not a subscriber, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Hit all when you go to the bell symbol, hit all, and YouTube will send you emails to make sure you don't miss any episodes. This is where I'm primarily going to be focused rather than the Simon Dixon YouTube channel at the moment. So let's jump straight into that question once you've hit that like button.
Okay, first question is from Anonymous. Your email mentions the Series B round. How will you provide access to the deal for premium members who weren't invited and excluded through no fault of our own?
So premium members, you've got to make sure that you are subscribed to the newsletter. So if you check the settings section of your account, make sure that newsletter is switched on so that you are able to receive those emails, because all notifications come from emails. Make sure that you whitelist the email info@BnkToTheFuture.com, app@BnkToTheFuture.com, and also no_reply@BnkToTheFuture.com, because we can't be responsible for email service providers blocking emails, but info@BnkToTheFuture.com is where they all come through. But you've also got to be subscribed to the newsletter, and it's always first come, first serve. So the Series B was done on a first come, first serve, but it pretty much all sold out to existing investors, and then a little bit was left over through premium members. And so make sure that you have your whitelisted those emails. You check those emails, because things move really fast in crypto.
Do you know what the price per share will be for the next Celsius round?
No, we haven't been given those details by Celsius yet. But the first people to find out about that will be the premium members or the premium plus members. And they will get 48 hours head start to the deal. That is highly likely that all US spots will sell out. So you'd have to be a premium member in order to try and get access to that. But we haven't been given a price per share. And as soon as we are given a price per share, and as soon as we receive those details from Celsius, then we will make it available to existing investors, premium members, and then whatever is left over will be to other members of the platform. Make sure you are KYC verified, completed your certifications in advance to avoid disappointment. There is still a waiting list to get accounts with Bank to the Future. But no, we haven't been given the share price. That will be available on the pitch as soon as we are given it, and as soon as we are given the go-ahead. We haven't been given the go-ahead to go live yet, so we're just chasing the Celsius team on that.
Would it be advisable to transfer my SPV shares I've invested in via yourselves into a private limited company for tax advantages?
We are unable to give tax advice, but in order to transfer that, here's what I can tell you. You would need to open an account on Bank to the Future, an organizational account. They take longer to get signed up. So you need your company to sign up to Bank to the Future. And if you've invested as an individual, then you would need, there's a legal work in order to transfer those shares. So if you go to the Bank to the Future website and click on fees, you can see the legal fees for transferring shares from an individual account to a company account. Now, whether there are tax advantages to that, you need to consult your tax advisor and need to find out certain things that you can check. There are things called controlled foreign corporations if you're setting offshore companies. And so therefore they might see through that, and it might be subject to the same tax as an individual if the entity is just set up for that purpose. If you are a retirement plan B customer, then we have a structure that we're launching to the Retirement Plan B online coaching program in order to put together the most efficient structure and share the benefit of exactly how I invest through Bnk To The Future in order to do that. But whether you get taxed as an individual or a corporation, can't give you that tax advice. It depends on your country of jurisdiction, where you reside, your nationality, whether you live in a country which is subject to an exit tax, whether you're a US resident, and therefore you have your worldwide wealth. If you're Hong Kong, there's country charge worldwide wealth. And so that is something you'd have to check with a tax advisor. Normally, you need to go a bit deeper than a simple corporation setup. And that's what we've been guiding our Retirement Plan B customers on in order to have the most efficient structure and then understand the questions to ask their tax advisors. Later this year, we'll be taking a second round of Retirement Plan B customers. So if you want to be notified about that, then make sure you are on the notification list by heading over to retirementplanb.com/sign_up. And that is where you can put yourself on the notification. So make sure you're on these lists.
Bnk To The Future holds 300 million BF tokens. How do you plan to use them in the future? Any plans to sell some to partners like Binance or add liquidity on DEX?
So BF Global is a long-term hodler. It hasn't moved it hasn't even unlocked its tokens yet. So they're all locked up in a smart contract, in a multi-sig setup, in a very secure place. And we're quite happy leaving those there and not taking risk with those. So Bnk To The Future and believes in the growth of the ecosystem. And there was a rewards pool that can be used in order for rewarding our people. We have been rewarding our Bnk To The Future token holders through the premium membership, the premium plus membership, and early ones that completed onboarding onto the platform. And that's the pool that might be able to be used should liquidity be needed. We prefer the organic approach. So if you want to use Uniswap and you want to provide liquidity and do market making, as a registered company, we don't like to create conflicts of interest. So we don't do market making ourselves. We don't trade against token holders or anything like that. We like to keep it simple, keep the utility growing. And then if there is opportunities for others to do market making or provide liquidity, then that's the beauty of ERC20 tokens. You can do that.
When will you accept the average Joe on your platform? Any products for non-already rich people on the roadmap?
Yes, it's live right now. So you can buy Bitcoin, you can buy ETH, you can offboard into stable coins. You can complete the Retirement Plan B online coaching program. And depending on your jurisdiction, if you're not from the US, then you are able to do the Retirement Plan B portfolio builder. That is in closed beta, just to the online coaching program customers right now. We are live right now with investing in crypto on the Bnk To The Future platform, and you don't need to be a certified, accredited, qualifying investor for that. When it comes to certain products, we open it up as wide as regulations allow us to open them up. So equity products are not available on a global scale, and you have to be a qualifying investor. The definition of qualifying depends on your jurisdiction. We don't set those laws. Regulators set those laws. If regulators open those up, we will try and accommodate the definitions of who can invest in these asset classes. But we have products available to everybody that wants to be involved in those products. But the products that are restricted, that the regulators have decided that are high risk and therefore are only available to rich people, or people with certain income, or people that have met certain qualifications, or people that qualify based upon experience, then we open it up as wide as possible.
Securitize is aiming to launch a market to trade shares of private companies in Q2 2021. Could Bnk To The Future use their services to open its secondary market to everyone?
We can certainly explore that. We've been in conversations. Securitize are very keen to support us and do a partnership there. And we will update you as any of those conversations progress. As you know, if you've been around us for a while, we are very collaborative. We love working with our portfolio companies. We are an equity holder in Securitize, and our investors on the platform are shareholders in Securitize. And so anything we can do to support the company, we will look to do that. We will look, we will put on the roadmap and update you. At the moment, we've got other things we want to be doing, so we'll first see that. But the Securitize team are keen to explore opportunities there, and we will update you as they progress.
When will the new exchange be listed?
If you're talking about an exchange listing on Bnk To The Future, we haven't done, there's exchanges like Bitfinex and Kraken. Bitstamp was exited. There's, those are companies that you can purchase equity in at the moment. If you're referring to us listing on an exchange, we're not going to be IPOing. We had a challenge with doing our own shares on our secondary market because the regulators need us to give them a notification every time a transfer of ownership happens. So one of the only ways of doing that would be to explore different options. So unfortunately, regulations prevented us doing our own secondary market for BF Global at the moment. If you're referring to the Bnk To The Future token being listed on exchanges, that is up to exchanges to list those tokens. That is based upon liquidity, demand, and us growing our ecosystem. And one of the things that we did as a strategic goal at Bnk To The Future is we said we wanted to grow the utility of the Bnk To The Future token. It's up 1,000% because more and more people are needing those tokens in order to gain access to the utility. And then we wanted a mass appeal product. Retirement Plan B was on the roadmap, the portfolio builder. We are very close. We are in closed beta launching that to our closed group of customers. And then we can look at how we can grow that ecosystem. And if exchanges want to list the Bnk To The Future token, they do it based upon a few things: people demanding it, them frequently hearing about it, and also the volume and trading is what they care about. They earn their fees through trading fees. If you want to, tag and tweet exchanges in order to do that, it's up to them, and they make the decisions about what they list. We don't put restrictions on that. It's an ERC20 token, so they can integrate those into those exchanges. And it's really all those decisions are based upon volume and not turning it into a security. So if you make decisions about it and make it into a security, then they can just no longer support the ecosystem. So we've been very careful about that.
Hi, Simon. You always said Bnk To The Future has dealt with tens of thousands accredited investors. Why only 2,500 wallets hold the BF token? Any thoughts?
Well, a lot of people hold their Bnk To The Future tokens. They purchase them on the platform, and then they hold them on the platform in order to get the utility. Not everyone, many people hold them on exchanges. Unfortunately, not everything can be done in a decentralized way. So that's one of the explanations. It's not just tens of thousands, it's hundreds of thousands. Many of our investors are investors that use centralized services still. They build equity portfolios. Many of them, so we've got 2,500 wallets that are holding them maybe without the token, without using them on the platform, but also many people choose the centralized option for that. And then there's big, large custody wallets through exchanges, and many people use exchanges. But yeah, I guess we've got to improve the ecosystem of what's available. We did create the BF wallet in order to support that. But we've shelved that product for now. We also wanted to do the security token exchange to support the growth of the decentralized ecosystem. We shelved that product for now as well. So as we grow our resources and we can look at some of those projects, then maybe more and more people will hold them in their own wallets.
Okay, Jeremy asks, please clarify if tokens on the BF wallet qualify for premium members. I hold all my tokens on the wallet as encouraged, but now it appears they need to be held on the platform to qualify.
They do qualify, but we're phasing out support for the BF wallet at this stage. So I would recommend that it's a suggestion to hold those. That ecosystem does evolve, does still work. You can hold them on the BF wallet, but we have not been supporting further releases of the BF wallet, so it's not the most up-to-date technology at the moment. And so but it still works. So that integration is there. So you can still hold them on the BF wallet if you don't want to make that changes. But all new customers, they're holding them on the platform from now on.
Can you speak about Exodus' amazing success and expectations for their future success?
So I can't give advice about the future success of companies because you might make investment decisions based upon that, and we're non-advisory, and we just make deals available, and investors do their own research and make their own investment decisions. But Exodus came to us a long time ago. They created a self-custody wallet. The reason they call it Exodus is because it's about migrating from the traditional financial system. They are a team of beautiful designers, beautiful user experience, and they created one of the most easiest, simplest self-custodial wallet out there. It supports the Bank to the Future token. It's integrated with Trezor if you want to hold it on a hardware wallet. It's a great company that we were really happy to support right in the early days when they first started. Now they are a very large company with lots and lots of wallets, growing at an incredibly fast pace, and a very valuable company. So they launched a security token, and we'll be looking to support a secondary market for those that still hold shares in Exodus. And see how we can support them, and also look how far they go with what they do with their security token next. But Exodus is a self-custodial wallet with a beautiful interface and a great company.
James asks, hi, I believe lending services such as Celsius will see the most growth over the next 5 years in crypto. Any plans to diversify Bank to the Future with, say, BlockFi or Nexo?
So we we are working with Celsius on the next phase of services. We have been working with them on the retirement plan B, and in future episodes of Bank to the Future Live, we'll give you an update on partnerships with Celsius. We are an equity holder, and so we like to support the companies that we are equity holders in. In terms of that, we are working with Celsius. That's our partner at the moment. I think that other companies are doing really great stuff, but as we are an equity holder, and we look to support the companies that use our platform, and we've done different comparisons with different services, and so for now we're happy with Celsius. If it requires more diversification into the future, firstly, let's get our products launched, and then we can start exploring different services as well.
Do you have any opinions on Chainlink? I know you're a bit of a Bitcoin maximalist, but I think Chainlink could be the third force after Bitcoin and Ethereum.
Not really the show to start discussing altcoins and tokens and different parts of the ecosystem. But Chainlink is an ecosystem for solving an important part of the ecosystem, which is the Oracle problem. I don't give opinions on tokens because people might use that in order to treat that as a recommendation or investment advice. So I try to avoid going deep into all the different types of altcoins and tokens. And this is really focused on companies that are part of the Bank to the Future ecosystem, those looking to build a portfolio, retirement plan B and that type of stuff. So want to avoid the question politely. In terms of Bitcoin maximalism, I believe that Bitcoin is our world's best shot at ever achieving digital hard sound money. And I believe that Ethereum is building the ecosystem for decentralized finance, infinitely more risky, infinitely more things that can go wrong. But if you watch the free 4-part video series on retirementplanb.com, there is on the third video, I explain how I invest, and exactly how I'm investing $1 million of my personal savings through Retirement Plan B. And that explains exactly what I think and how I do things and how I treat things there.
Do you guys have any listing plan to Binance or Coinbase?
It's up to Binance and it's up to Coinbase if they want to list the Bank to the Future token. And we would not, for insider reasons, announce that prior to that. So there's no point asking that question again. The day you would find out about that is the day that it actually happens, because of course we would not try and give different parts of the ecosystem heads up about that before. So it's the most silly question to ask. I'm sorry to single you out, but so many people ask it expecting an answer, when even if it were happening tomorrow, no one would answer that question unless they want to do a John McCarthy. They're pumping and dumping things, and they want to end up in prison like John McCarthy. So please don't try and land people in prison by asking questions, because they ain't going to give you information before, because they want to be as fair as possible, and they have to do that if they are a responsible company. Any company that makes promises and tells you things like that in advance, then they are setting themselves up for trouble.
Could you invite on Bank to the Future customers who have been successful in deals like Kraken, Circle, etc., to see how they found the process and what their future plans are?
Nice idea. Yeah, I think the marketing team, one of the things on their roadmap is to create a case study brochure from our investors. And I think it would be really nice. I think the most appropriate people to do that, as part of our retirement plan B weekly calls, we actually had our customers on there sharing their experience. And it was a really, really popular thing. We really look, yeah, I think that would be a great thing to do with our retirement plan B customers as well.
What do you think of a senior Goldman Sachs lobbyist joining Coinbase and bolstering the exchange's connections in Washington? Will it help streamline the industry?
Our sister, our industry is so big that you'd expect all these things to happen. And so, it's lobbying efforts have been happening a long time. And as the budgets get bigger and bigger and bigger in order to support the growth of the ecosystem, then companies like Coinbase are perfectly positioned to bring on these heavyweights from traditional finance and lobby the efforts to try and support the ecosystem. It's when it starts to get institutional and it starts to get a bit corporate and political, that's the phase we are at the growth of our market. So it's one of those things that's needed, and Coinbase and companies like that are perfectly positioned to fill those roles.
Would you ever have Roger Ver on the show again? He was my inspiration into getting into Bitcoin, and I think if it wasn't for him, Bitcoin could have failed in the early days.
We at Bank to the Future Live, we only bring companies that are raising funding. So if Roger wanted to raise funding for one of his companies, he's often referring deals to us. Then if he is part of the C-level team and it makes sense, then Roger can share the company that will be raising finance on Bank to the Future to different parts of the ecosystem. If you're referring to the Simon Dixon YouTube channel, that's where things get a bit more political. But on Bank to the Future's YouTube channel, this is a show just for our investors that want to get updates on portfolio companies, want to build portfolios. And so at the moment, it hasn't actually made sense to do that. But if it makes sense to do that as part of an investor relations or future deal, then we remain neutral. And if that's what our investors and our community are looking for, then give us feedback, and we'll see what can be made possible. But we have a singular focus here on the Bank to the Future Live channel.
How many Bitcoin do you own?
Never answer that question. Never will answer that question. Pass.
Would you ever, sorry, one sec. This is when's the IPO to Binance go? When the IPO to Binance goes on, I'm quite sure that makes sense.
We are not shareholders in Binance. We do not know anything about them doing an IPO. And I imagine it would be an extremely complex company. And my guess, having known CZ, is that it's probably not ideologically aligned to what they want to do to grow the company. So my personal opinion, not based on insider information, not based upon being a shareholder, I wouldn't expect Binance to do an IPO. That would just be my personal perspective. And so, yeah, I wouldn't expect to see that.
Can you give any hints as to the upcoming pitches? What industry or sector of the space they're in?
We never announce pitches until they are actually live. The only reason we mentioned Celsius is because Celsius made it public before actually completing our process. So that's why we can mention it, but we never mention it. We like to have the element of surprise. And we know we've been around this game for long enough that sometimes things can go wrong in DD, and we don't like to overpromise and underdeliver. And we don't like to get people's hopes up if something's may not happen. So until we know it's 100% going to happen, and in the DD process, that's due diligence, things can go wrong. And so, yeah, we that's the reason why we don't announce something. But we do announce them to our premium members 48 hours before they get listed on the platform. And so make sure you are subscribed to the newsletter, make sure you're up to date with your verification and certification, and make sure you're a premium member if you want to get notified 48 hours before everyone else.
James asks, you should do giveaways for Bank to the Future tokens on your AMAs. For the suggestion and inevitable increase in your views and subs, I'll take 10,000 just for now.
Okay. Okay. Well, thank you for the suggestions. I think that would be one for the team to digest. You know, we try to be ultra careful. We try not to use, you know, too many things that are, we like to just target the investors that are actually using our platform, rather than just giving away tokens to people that never had any intention of using them. It's one of the reasons why the tokens are used on the platform, because we're not looking to just, you know, pump and dump something, then dump them on the market just for a giveaway. And then they had no intention of ever using them. We want to build a utility token based upon real utility, rather than just a useless token, and you get short-term pumps and dumps because people were never interested in using them or being a part of the ecosystem in the first place. But thanks for the suggestion. We'll digest it if we can do it in a way where it makes sense to people actually using the platform.
When will Chronicled's next round of investment begin?
Chronicled has done several rounds. I'm not sure if they've got another one. It was not that long ago that they did the last one. So we haven't got any update from there or when there is any further funding needed.
How do US residents become premium members?
The challenging part is finding an exchange that allows you to buy Bank to the Future tokens. So if you head over to CoinMarketCap, you can click on the markets part, and there's all the exchanges are listed. Most people end up having to buy it through a decentralized exchange just because those crypto exchanges don't accept US customers. Once you've got tokens, you can then add them on your Bank to the Future account. We don't allow you to buy them through the Bank to the Future account because at this stage, we are not regulated in order to allow US people to purchase digital assets or utility tokens through the platform. And so therefore we don't make that available at the moment. So you'd have to buy them through an exchange like Uniswap, which then means that you need to have your own wallet, and you need to be comfortable with holding things on your own wallet with your own private keys, which is awesome because it's very important to get your head around that. There is a guide. If you go to the announcement page on Bank to the Future, and if you type in the search Uniswap, we've got a complete guide on how you can purchase Bank to the Future tokens through Uniswap. And although it's a harder process than using a centralized exchange, at least it's forcing you to move into the realms of decentralization and private key ownership, which is an awesome place to get to.
If you're just starting out with, say, a few thousand, would you put it all in Bitcoin, or would you put it in one or two deals through Bank to the Future?
Neither. I would take my investable funds and I'd allocate it, as I suggested in the third video, on retirementplanb.com. Watch the third video, and no matter how much, whether it's $1,000, whether it's $100,000, whether it's $1 million, $10 million, $100 million, or $1 billion, I will allocate it exactly how I explained in the third video on retirementplanb.com. Diversification is the key, and understanding what parts of your portfolio are designed to achieve certain goals and perform in different types of environments. So that's why we created Retirement Plan B, to help people understand how to invest like a pro, and build their own plan based upon their own stage of life and understanding about what goals they're trying to achieve.
Mark asks, could you explain how it works and how you can invest in up-and-coming ventures?
In terms of how Bank to the Future works, so we have two types of offerings: primary offerings and secondary markets. The primary offerings is when a new company wants to sell shares in their company, you have to have an account on Bank to the Future, and then we email you and you're able to purchase shares in those companies. We hold them through a special structure known as an SPV, and that means that we hold them for you, and then you can buy units in that and you get exposure to those companies. In our secondary market, it's where our existing investors can take some of those shares in companies that are held through our structure and sell them to other investors. So the secondary market is open 24/7 all the time. If anyone is selling those shares, you can take them, buy them from that, and we automate the whole share transfer. This is long-term, high-risk, high-return investing. You should have at least a 5 to 10-year horizon and time frame, so that you can benefit from the growth and invest like a professional venture capitalist. And that's the overview of that. If you want further details, check out archives of Bank to the Future Live, where we go through all of these details. And there are, if you go back like about 10, 15 videos, we created lots of little chunks of how the SPV work, how the secondary market works, what lock-in periods are, and everything you need to know. So you might want to go back to some of those archive videos, or start the process of creating an account and dip your toe in the water.
I guess this is the final question from Den. What happened with Binance exchange submission? Did they answer on listing submission?
There was an announcement that we made about our Binance partnership, and everything we announced about Binance is in that announcement page. So if you'd like to get an update on that, on what we announced, then go to the announcement page, and we share the details of how the Binance partnership is working. We don't discuss listings. We would not discuss, anything like that. If you are looking for updates, Bank to the Future token, if it's listed on an exchange, then the time it's listed is the only time you will hear about it. So yeah, that's all I got to say on that one. So thank you very much. That's episode 85 of Bank to the Future Live. I've been recovering a little bit from being ill for the last week or so. Just got my COVID test back this week. You'll be happy to know that I don't have COVID. So that's all good. It was just a cold. It was just whatever. There was a world where people got colds and flus before this whole COVID came along. But I'm all good. So thanks to everybody sending out the messages. I'll also, if you don't follow me on Twitter, at Simon Dixon Twit, that's where I'll be going back into, I'll be starting my public commitment to health and finishing that off after the little break I had to take because I got ill. So you can get those updates on Twitter. I'll be starting again this weekend when I'm fully recovered. My voice is still a little bit croaky. I'm off to doing a podcast for Saifedean Moose after this, the author of the Bitcoin Standard. So looking forward to that. Yes, in terms of withdrawals, those are all under control again at Bank to the Future. I'm still a waiting list for new accounts on Bank to the Future. Thank you for your patience. And corporate action after corporate action after corporate action. We'll be back this time next week with any further updates, any further announcements. We'll have the old Slido board for you to ask your questions again. So thanks, everybody. And we'll see you this time next week on episode 86 of Bank to the Future Live. Thanks for doing the moderation, Azad, and we'll see you. Peace.